Hello everyone, this is Jessica Carlson and this is my Your Gifts Videocast, and I have a special guest with me today. I have Jason Kiesau.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on.
I don't know if any of you have heard him keynote speak at different events in Des Moines, but what made me think about him is just a couple years ago, I was at a life coaching, maybe business coaching seminar, and he was one of the keynote speakers, and I just remember being so moved by his story and his message and his call to action. And he always has been on my mind since then. So a couple months ago, I saw that he was speaking at the Urbandale Chamber Gen YP program about emotional intelligence, and so I signed up like a second later, and in that session I was also greatly impacted by him. So finally, I got the confidence. I just asked him to be on my videocast so he can give some of his gifts to my viewers and make changes in all of your lives. So I'm extremely excited for today if you haven't noticed so far. So
I'm excited too.
So
very cool.
A couple great things about Jason too. So he's a dad, he's a speaker, he's a coach, he's an author of 3 books, and he's also the director of client partnerships at Traycom, and he's crushing it. I was like, and he built his own website. I was like, how do you do all these things? How are you so good at everything? So my first question to you is, how are you so good? No, I'm kidding. How are you? So how
let me tell you. No.
How did this obsession start, or not really obsession, but how did you start all of these things around emotional and social intelligence, leadership mindset? We have workplace conflict and building trust, and then creating really high quality experiences. Tell me more about all of them. No.
Yeah, I think it's all rooted in the same, from the same purpose. You know, it's funny you talk about the website. It kind of actually ties into all this. That I grew up wanting to teach elementary school, and decided not to go into education, and ended up going to get my associate degree in graphic design, web design, advertising design, and got out of school, got a job at an ad agency, and at my 1-year review, they kindly let me know it wasn't working out. So, and that kind of forced me to look in the mirror. Okay, so it was March 2001, and I just, as that was happening, I was kind of reflecting back on, I was 23, I was reflecting back on perceived like mistakes and things I could have done differently. It's the first time I ever feared failure. And I was like ignorant to before. I don't know if I thought I was invincible, whatever, but it's the first time I feared failure, and forced me to look in the mirror. And I remember just saying that I haven't learned something, so I'm gonna study characteristics of success. That's how it started.
Wow.
And a bigger lesson with that is that, like, when you know what you want to look at or focus on, there's tons of information out there, right? So that's how it started. I'm going to study characteristics of success. So as I started getting into that, it was what makes people successful. And then it went to what makes people happy, okay? Which is a really dangerous question to talk to people about, dangerous question to ask people about when you start meddling in their happiness and quality of life. I found that out.
Yeah.
But then it moved into, it's not about happiness, it's about confidence. Right, that's what makes people happy, when they're confident. And why aren't they confident? Well, insecurity, stress. So how do we manage insecurities and stress? And it just kept on progressing to, you can't do any of this stuff without emotional and social intelligence, right? So that's kind of how the obsession came about. It was through mistakes, it was through pain, it was through looking in the mirror, having to change the way I was doing things. And it's just, again, when you maybe have the right attitude and you're focusing on the right things, things just continue to happen. Where now I'm working with an organization out of Denver, Colorado called the Traycom Group, and they are a social intelligence company. And they create programming to help organizations enhance their emotional intelligence, resiliency, and organizational creativity and agility. Right?
Yeah.
So it's, and I get to play a role in that and spreading it bigger with the world. So it's super cool. And you start to get into this stuff, it's not reserved and segmented just for your work life.
Yeah.
Right? It impacts you, it impacts your family. If you're walking your talk, it changes how you see people, how you treat people.
Yeah.
And it's just good.
I feel like social and emotional intelligence, when you ask any young professional or any professional, like, what do they want to learn more about, they're always checking the box on those 2 areas.
They should.
Could you expand more, like, what do those even mean?
Yeah, in I guess in simple terms, I mean, our short pitch on it is like social intelligence is how we think, how we behave, how we act, and how we react. Okay, so everything starts with us. You know, that's where the emotional intelligence comes in. It's understanding us better. The research shows our self-perception is wrong most of the time, right? So whatever stories we tell ourselves, whether they're positive or negative, are likely not 100% accurate, right?
Yeah.
So we want to learn more,
Yeah.
okay? And as we learn more about us and we start to enhance our emotional intelligence, again, understanding how we think, how we feel, how we behave, how we take action, how we respond to things, what our needs for security are, what our stress triggers are, how do we manage the stress? We start walking our talk with that, you're naturally going to be seeing that in other people. And that's where the social intelligence comes in, right? And it's, at the end of the day, it's about creating a better experience for ourselves, but also a better experience with the people we're with.
Yeah. I was thinking about everything that I wanted to ask you. I had like 15 questions I wanted to ask him in 10 minutes. Good luck. But I feel like when he talks, like passion just like flows from him, and it's very clear that he knows what he's talking about, and he can share it really to the world. So first of all, I admire that about you a ton.
Well, you're doing a pretty good job with that as well.
Oh, thank you.
mean, yeah.
One of the books he wrote is called Unshakable Confidence, and it's actually, if you go to his website, I'll put it on this video, but you can download it for free.
Yep.
So think about like how confidence plays into your passions and your values. Like how do they all connect for you? And like kind of what's your story that drives everything in your life?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, we know people that have confidence, we know people that struggle with confidence. And I appreciate all the kind things you said, and I certainly try to walk my talk. I'm sure I fail every day. And there's days I struggle with the stress management and the insecurities and the self-talk and things like that. The world is different. The human experience is different for people that have confidence versus people that don't. And kind of what I compare it to, and I write about it in the ebook and also my book Focused, is I look at confidence, having confidence, not having confidence is two different roads, right? So you've got a destination you're going through, and you've got two different roads, and the road that of confidence, it's a smooth ride. The weather's beautiful. It's the traffic is easy. You've got good people riding with you, right? And it's a more, I don't want to say exciting like the expectation, like everything's got to be exciting, but it's a higher quality experience, and it's less stressful in pursuit of whatever it is you're trying to do. The less confident road is bumpy. The car's breaking down. It's stormy. The road's windy. You've got backseat drivers constantly chirping, whether they know what they're talking about or not. And it's a harder journey. And if you do make it to the destination, man, it was stressful. You know, it was rougher. And I just think the more we can take care of ourselves to help us experience the greatest amount of confidence, and certainly plant those seeds with the people we are responsible for. You know, I put pressure on myself for my children. I put pressure on myself for my nieces and nephews and anybody else I have responsibility with. My job, I think this is a human thing. It's certainly a leadership thing. If you're in membership, if you're a member of leadership and management, this is a non-negotiable. And I say it in my trainings, like, if you don't get this, if you don't have an interest in it, don't be in leadership or management. Like, you don't deserve the check, right? You just, but our job is to provide environments and resources to help other people experience higher confidence, because their life will be better, right? I mean, that's the drive with it. It's like, what better way to positively impact the world around you than help people feel good about themselves and what they're doing?
Absolutely.
Right?
One of the things you taught in the class I was in that really resonated with me, just like what you said there, is like when you're wanting to grow as a person into your confidence too, you also have to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're a culture that celebrates being busy and celebrates stress and all we go through, and, you know, we want the story that comes with it. 10 years ago, I it was probably 10 years ago, I started a business that I probably shouldn't have started. And there was a lot about, and maybe it's the same way, I'm just not as around it as much, but there was a lot about the entrepreneurial story, right? The struggle, the small business owner making it. And I'm in the middle of them like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I'm like, this story's BS. I don't like this story. It's like, we celebrate this.
Yeah.
And it causes problems for people, and it causes problems for family. And sure, you can be resilient and get through it.
Yeah.
But it kind of sucks, you know? So taking care of yourself is, you know, it starts with, and I think that's the benefit of the emotional and social intelligence, because it forces you to look at that. But from a bigger perspective, physiologically, like sleep, food quality, habits, routines, eliminating unnecessary stress, are all those things. If we're not taking care of that stuff, it's going to hold us back. There's a basic needs theory out there. A lot of people are familiar with Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And, you know, I think academics challenge it at times. And I don't know that I'm putting my signature on the entire thing, but the benefit I see in it is that it says that if our basic physiological needs are not being met, it's going to distract us from having the security and confidence. It's going to, and if that's jacked up, that's the confident road versus the road of lacking confidence. It's going to affect how we build relationships with people. It's going to affect our esteem to achieve, and it's going to affect us ever achieving what they call self-actualization and living our purpose and potential. And if you can imagine where like it's all good, that's like you don't have the stressor or the worry, or it's arousal stress that's just motivating. That can't happen if we're not taking care of ourselves. Right.
That was so powerful to me, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not growing to your full potential. It starts from the very beginning, the very foundation, which is powerful.
You're just holding yourself back, and there's a lot of people who are, and I have a lot of empathy for them, but they're validated by survival mode in the struggle. And just because you might be resilient, surviving, it doesn't mean you're putting it doesn't mean the right things are being put in place to achieve at the end of the day really what you want to achieve.
Right. And I think as a culture, that's so true. Like, everyone wants to put in the grind and show that, but that's not actually right too at some points, back and forth.
It's not right or wrong. It's just, what's your goal and what's the best action to take to get it. Right?
Okay, one last question, as I'm taking way over 10 minutes, but I have to ask it. So I want to dive into the leadership route too. There's this quote on your website. It said, good leaders can change the world, and bad leaders can just create bad memories. Expand more on that.
I think you can use it with leadership. I think you can use it with parenting. I think you can use it with teachers. I think you can use it with anybody in a role of influence, that if you look back at your life and you identify the people that were most inspiring to you, they were likely good leaders, and at least a good leader to you. And if you're able to look at the people who you had a role of being a subordinate to, of reporting to, of being taught by, and if it was a bad experience, that's not only is it a bad memory, but there could be little things in there that continue to trigger unproductive behavior today, right? It's just, it kind of goes back to the whole confidence thing. I have 2 children, and with my children, if I do the best I can.
Oops. 1 second. Okay. Keep going, sorry.
No, you're good. I have 2 children. And if I can do the best I can to ensure I'm creating an environment and a culture that promotes them being confident, they're going to be better off in the world. I am changing the world. Okay? And if I create an environment that leads to self-doubt or self-deprecation or lack of self-worth, that hurts them.
Right.
And I think any of us that have a position of influence, we can do either of those 2 things based on how we show up.
That is insanely powerful, and I wish we had an hour left, but we don't. If you would like any more information from Jason, I'll put his link to his website. It has links to the TRACOM group. It has links to his speaking and his books. So feel free to explore like I did and learn everything about him that you can, and book him for different gigs that you have in Des Moines, whether it be teaching or keynote speaking. He's phenomenal. I'll put like my testimonial on your website if you want. No, I'm kidding. But thank you for joining us. It's been a huge blessing, and we're so lucky to have you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.